Hey, welcome to the Reddit time. What is your Tinder horror story? Long story short, let's start. This guy asked me if I would be interested in dating his dad. Pretty sure that guy was a catfish of said dad pretending to be guy. Probably. The message he sent me was so weird. Talked to him for 2 weeks before we went out and no red flags, so we ended up going out to dinner. I said I hadn't been out in a while because I was trying to save money for a washer and dryer. He told me instead of saving for that, I should save for a boob job. I didn't even know how to reply, so he followed up with, "No, it's not a bad scene. My sister and mom both had small teeth and got boob jobs and they look amazing." This is all before the waiters even brought our drinks. I just got up and left. Maybe he should just go sleep with his mother and sister then. Maybe he already did. Found this really hot woman close by, talked for a bit and went out for pizza, then back to her place. A few weeks later I met her kid, who absolutely adored me. Now we live together and have another child. Deleted Tinder. Never again. Absolutely horrific. Oh wait, so they used Tinder to find a long-term partner? Disgusting. A chick said she was having a work party at her house and I should come over. It's bring your own bottle, so I bought a 6-pack for myself. Went to her place and noticed more than half of the people were younger, 17, 18, while I was 21 and the girl was also 21. Then they gathered everyone in the living room and proceeded to talk about the job. Turns out it was one of those pyramid scheme recruiting gatherings. I just sat there drinking my beer, only one drinking, for 2 hours because I thought it was rude to leave because they were telling sob stories and saying how much this job had helped them. Sat there listening to some head of the group guy saying how we can make millions in a short amount of time. Saying bullshit like, "You see my BMW 3 Series out front? That's a company car that you can drive around in if you do what we do." It was said because they were trapping low-income teens that are deciding not to go to college and to join them. After the pitch I pretty much had enough and was preparing to leave. Then the girl came up to me and asked what I thought, and I just said it's not for me and I'm leaving. She asked if I wanted to take my beer, and I said they needed it more than I did. 2 or 3 weeks later she sent me a text, unfortunately we exchanged numbers, asking if the head of the group guy can call me and ask me questions on why I'm not signing and how I thought the group session went. I didn't reply, but sure enough the dude called me and I politely said it's not for me, but he kept pushing. Finally, I had to tell him to fuck off. And that was the end of that. Never went to work parties for a Tinder date again. It was a complete shit show, and if it wasn't for the beer I brought or the Tinder date's dog, I would have just left. Looking back on it, during the pitch, the head of the group guy said at one point, "If you're not interested in making $1 million, you can just leave, no one's stopping you." I really wish I stood up, chucked my beer and said, "Fuck this shit, you guys are all stupid and no one should be joining, you will ruin your lives," and walk out. But that's just a daydream I have in the shower. Applause. Run from that MLM shit, always. The pitches always use the same inspirational stories with an entry to mid-tier German luxury car parked out front, not fooling anyone. Met a guy. Decent conversations, smart, funny, mature, nerdy hobbies. We decide to meet up at the local gamer bar and play some games while having our first date. Get in, sit down, dude has no teeth. Says a hack dentist told him they all had to be removed. Couldn't get dentures due to budget. Needed to wait for bone shards go fall out of his gums, etc. Proceeded to spit all over our food while talking, which granted, I knew he couldn't help, but if he can hide something this big from someone, what else could he be hiding? Plus I couldn't stomach the thought of making out with someone with no teeth. Jesus, this can't be real, lol. Are hack dentists really something we need to be worried about? Met up with a Tinder girl at Dave & Buster's. She brought me there for a fucking pyramid scheme sign-up presentation. Guess I respect the hustle. Ooh, happened to me in college. But this was in the early 90s, so no Tinder obviously. Met this attractive girl on campus, we had coffee, then a lunch, nothing ever physical, but she seemed into me. One day she calls me, asks me to come by her office. I'm thinking weird, but okay. I go, she meets me and she brings me in this room, and there is about 10 other guys around my age all sitting around this conference table. We're all looking at each other with this what the fuck expressions on our face. Then the girl comes back in with her boss and the sales pitch started. Fresh off a breakup on campus, matched with this really good looking girl who is talking pure feels. Obviously I'm just an idiot with a hurt heart, so I don't question much, head over to her place a few days later. She insisted I come over on a certain day at certain o'clock. Usually I would be sketched out, but it was the middle of the day on a Big Ten campus. What exactly could go that south? Half hour in, her husband came home. I was being used in a revenge plot. No more Tinder. Matched with my best friend's forever fiancé after the engagement party. Screenshots of everything and lost my best friend forever because I don't play that. I was uninvited to the wedding. Marriage lasted 18 months. Edit. Thank you for the gold award. Since so many have asked, I didn't swipe right. I took a screenshot and asked my friend what she wanted me to do. She asked me to swipe right to see if he was active. I did, and he messaged me asking to hook up. I told him off. He still wanted to hook up. I gave her all of the screenshots. He uninvited me from the wedding because he was certain I would embarrass him. He was correct. I wouldn't sleep with my friend's fiancé, nor would I pretend that he wasn't a jerk. That's why the friendship ended. She was from a culture that required marriage before children. She was desperate for a baby and thought he was her last chance. He was running for a public office and wanted a smiling wife and cute baby. Yes, they both used each other. Edited to add. Yes, they had a baby. Edited to add. No, he didn't get elected. If I'm reading this correctly, you were uninvited to the wedding because you were a good friend and showed them that their fiancé was on a hookup or dating site? He thought that I would embarrass him at the wedding. It is possible because he was stupid enough to not only match with his fiancé's best friend, but also, once I told him off for it, he still wanted to hook up. And he was running for public office. Shocking, I know. She just wanted a baby and culturally had to be married when popping one out. First date. She wanted me to get into a bar fight with a perfectly friendly guy who had bought us a round of shots that night. Why? Because she found out he was a Scorpio. Astrology chicks are crazy. We were supposed to meet at 9 p.m. He fell asleep and called me at 9:30 when I was already at the carnival. I told him not to bother coming as I didn't want to see him. He asked for another chance and I agreed. Unfortunately, my dad got really ill and had to spend the next 6 weeks in the hospital with me, visiting him daily. I had no time for dates and he got extremely mad. He made a fake Instagram account which he used to follow me and everybody that I followed. He then saw me in a friend's Instagram story and showed up to the restaurant we were at. He called me a whore and a liar and we had to threaten to call the police because he wouldn't leave. Edit. Some of you are asking how it ended and I'll just add this to my comment. He had my number and kept calling me using different phones. I knew it was him because he'd just be silent and I could hear him breathing. He did this for over 10 months. I was even living in a different country towards the end. One day I was expecting a call from a friend and had a missed call from a landline, so I called back. It was his mom. I explained to her what was happening and after a long silence she said, "Please don't call the police, I will talk to him." Never heard from him again. Edit 2. Some people are asking how the convo with his mom went, so I'll just type it here too. I was living in Thailand at the time and I had a friend, Louis, text me the night before telling me that he missed me and he wanted to catch up, so I told him he could call after I finished work. I was a teacher there. When I came back from school, I saw I had a missed call from a landline and I assumed it was Louis, so I called back. A woman picked up. Her. Hello? Me. Hi, Tini Gecko here. I have a missed call. Her. It must have been Carlos. He's not home at the moment, but I'll have him call you later. It clicked for me. I only know 2 guys named Carlos. Me. Carlos' surname? Her. Yes. Me. I'm sorry, but could I talk to you for a second? Then I told her everything I remembered. I was so scared she would not believe me and call me a liar, etc. I was shaken and I've never felt so shit. It was nearly 2 years ago and I forget the exact details, but she kept whispering Dios mio as I was telling her. She asked me to not call the police and I told her I would if I ever heard from him again. I never did. Edit 3. Some people are asking me how I found out about the fake Instagram account, so here it goes. The reason I was at the restaurant was because my sister had flown in from Dublin to visit my dad for a weekend and she made plans to meet her friends for tapas. I drove her to the restaurant and her friends saw me drop her off and asked me to stay. I did. After a while I saw him and he yelled. The waiter threatened to call the police and after the madness I sat back down and we all looked at each other like what the fuck. I wondered how the fuck he knew I was there and the only way he could have known was because one of my sister's friends put up a story where we were all saying salute with our drinks and she saw that 140 plus people saw the story. We ended up finding his profile and realized that he had followed everyone I follow, so that's how. We all reported the account and it got taken down by Instagram. That is another level of fucking creepy, laughing my ass off. So I met this girl on Tinder and went for a lunch date. We had a pretty good connection, so we decided to have dinner as well. After having a few drinks, one thing led to another and ended up back at my place. We hooked up and went to sleep. Middle of the night I wake up. She is intensely staring at me while she is crouched behind the bed. I asked her if everything is alright. She said yes and got back into bed. I thought little creepy but probably nothing to worry about. She lays down to cuddle with me and she's wet. At the time, I was like, damn, I must just be a stallion. Fast forward to the morning, she's gone and there's a wet puddle beside the bed. She peed on my floor. I still don't understand it. I had a bathroom, but maybe she just got lost and couldn't hold it. I did not hear from her again. Edit. Just wanted to be clear, we were both tipsy and not sloppy drunk. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you sharing your valuable time with me, and I would like to ask you, do you use Tinder? And if you do, what was the creepiest story you ever had? I would like to read your stories in the comments down below. Also subscribe to my channel, give me a big thumbs up, and see you in the next video.